The 1940 Lincoln wheat penny may seem like a simple copper coin, the kind most people would overlook in their change, but within the world of rare coins, this year in design hides some of the most astonishing and valuable minting errors ever discovered. It's almost surreal to think that a coin originally worth just 1 cent could one day command prices ranging from $69,000 to an incredible $400,000 at auctions. Yet, that's the reality with the ultra-rare 1940 Lincoln wheat penny error coins, which have become legendary among numismatists for their history, craftsmanship, and the beautiful mistakes that make them one of a kind. Minted during a pivotal time in American history, the 1940 Lincoln wheat penny marked an era of transition and progress. The nation was recovering from the Great Depression, industries were modernizing, and the USA Mint was producing coins at record levels. The Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints struck hundreds of millions of these pennies, each bearing the iconic portrait of Abraham Lincoln designed by Victor David Brenner in 1909. But among those countless ordinary coins, a few extraordinary errors slipped through the cracks, and those are the treasures collectors dream of finding. One of the most sought-after varieties of the 1940 wheat penny is the double die obverse, an error that occurred when the coin's design was accidentally impressed twice onto the die but slightly misaligned. The doubling can be clearly seen in the inscriptions "In God We Trust, Liberty," and the date 1940. To the naked eye, it almost looks like Lincoln's image and the lettering have a shadow, a fascinating detail that immediately catches attention. Collectors love these visible errors because they showcase a tangible mistake in the minting process, a small human error that resulted in immense value decades later. One extraordinary 1940 double die obverse coin graded MS-67 read by PCGS sold for an astonishing $132,000 at a Heritage Auctions event, while another with slightly less doubling still achieved $86,000 at Stack's Bowers. Another highly prized error from 1940 is the off-center strike, which occurs when the coin blank isn't perfectly centered between the dies during the striking process. This leads to a portion of the design being cut off while leaving the rest of the coin blank. Depending on how severe the misalignment is, these coins can fetch massive sums. A 1940 Lincoln wheat penny struck 40% off-center but still showing a complete date and partial rim fetched $97,000 at a 2021 auction. Even more dramatic was a 1940 penny struck 60% off-center, which sold for $118,000 in a private sale. These coins are fascinating not only because of their rarity but also because each one is completely unique, a one-of-a-kind accident that can never be duplicated. Then, there are the 1940 pennies struck on the wrong planchet, arguably the most valuable of all. During the high production runs of the early 1940s, the mints occasionally used leftover blanks intended for other denominations or even foreign coins. These accidents created pennies struck on dime, nickel, or even steel planchets. A 1940 Lincoln cent struck on a silver dime planchet, for instance, gleamed with a stunning silvery tone and weighed less than a standard penny. When one of these was discovered and authenticated, it shocked the coin world by selling for $400,000 at a 2023 Heritage Auctions event. Another example, struck on a steel planchet similar to those used for the 1943 wartime cents, sold for $248,000 in 2020. These wrong planchet errors are considered masterpieces of minting anomalies, beautiful, accidental, and unbelievably rare. Repunched mint mark errors also add another layer of intrigue to the 1940 Lincoln wheat penny series, especially those from the Denver Mint. Back then, mint marks were hand-punched onto the dies, leaving plenty of room for human error. When a mint mark was punched slightly off and corrected, it created a visible double impression, the D over D effect. Some of these repunched mint mark, RPM, errors from 1940 AD coins are so bold they can be seen without magnification. A brilliant red example graded MS-66 fetched $54,000 at auction, while another, slightly higher in grade with a more dramatic punch, sold for $72,500 at Stack's Bowers in 2022. Collectors are drawn to these small yet significant imperfections, as they perfectly capture the artistry and manual craftsmanship of the pre-war minting era. The 1940 wheat penny also includes examples of die cracks and die breaks, naturally occurring minting flaws caused by overuse of the coin dies. These cracks can appear as raised lines running across Lincoln's portrait or along the reverse design where the wheat stalks meet. Some even form dramatic coups, where a piece of the die breaks away completely, leaving a blob-like mark on the coin's surface. A 1940 Eddie penny featuring a massive die break across the word Liberty sold for $68,000 in 2021, while another showing a series of elegant die cracks resembling lightning bolts across the obverse realized $59,000. These coins are admired for their character, as each crack pattern is unique, Nature's own signature on a piece of copper history. Color and condition also play a critical role in the value of the 1940 Lincoln wheat penny. Collectors categorize these coins based on their color as red, red-brown, or brown, depending on how much of the original mint luster remains. Those retaining their fiery red hue, a brilliant orange copper glow, are among the most coveted. A 1940 double-die obverse penny graded MS67 plus red sold for an incredible $152,000 due to its pristine surfaces and sharp strike. Meanwhile, another near-perfect example graded MS68 red, showing no signs of handling and a vivid mirror-like shine, fetched $174,000 at auction. These coins aren't just old currency, they're time capsules that have survived over 8 decades in near-perfect condition. One of the most famous stories about a 1940 Lincoln wheat penny comes from a collector in Ohio who unknowingly kept one of the rare Ronplanchet errors in a family coin jar for nearly 40 years. When he finally had it appraised, experts identified it as a 1940 penny struck on a silver dime planchet, one of only a handful known to exist. The coin was later auctioned for $312,000, changing his life overnight. It's tales like this that fuel the fascination surrounding coins, the idea that hidden treasures might be sitting in plain sight, waiting to be rediscovered. Auction records continue to prove that demand for rare 1940 pennies is stronger than ever. A 1940 Eddie Lincoln cent with a visible repunched mint mark and full red luster brought $65,000 in 2022. A Philadelphia minted 1940 penny struck 50% off center sold for $89,500 the same year. Even coins with minor doubling or subtle planchet errors regularly achieve 5-figure prices, depending on their grade and visual appeal. Collectors are willing to pay top dollar for anything that combines rarity, error significance, and excellent preservation. Beyond their financial value, these coins hold deep historical significance. A 1940 wheat penny connects us to an America on the brink of monumental change. The world was preparing for war, and yet the USA Mint continued to produce coins that would circulate for decades, each one bearing Lincoln's steadfast face, a symbol of unity and resilience. It's poetic that among those millions of coins, a few bore errors, tiny imperfections that today remind us that even in mass production, individuality finds a way to shine through. For those looking to identify one of these treasures, there are a few key things to watch for. Examine the date closely for doubling, check under magnification for unusual mint marks, and inspect the color for traces of its original red luster. Use a digital scale to verify weight. A Ronplanchet error will often weigh less or more than the standard 3.11 grams. If you find something unusual, professional grading by PCGS or NGC can confirm authenticity and dramatically increase the coin's value. The 1940 Lincoln wheat penny remains one of the most fascinating coins ever minted in the United States. Its combination of historical context, intricate design, and the variety of minting errors makes it a centerpiece in any serious collection. Whether it's a double die obverse, a repunched mint mark, a die break, or a Ronplanchet strike, each error tells a story of craftsmanship, imperfection, and enduring legacy. So next time you come across an old penny, especially one from 1940, take a closer look. That small copper coin might just carry a rare minting flaw, a piece of history that connects the past to the present in the most unexpected way. And if you're lucky enough to find one of those ultra-rare examples, you could be holding a treasure worth between $69,000 and $400,000, proof that sometimes, even the smallest pieces of metal can hold stories and fortunes far greater than their size suggests. The 1948 Eddie Lincoln wheat penny might look like an ordinary coin at first glance, a small piece of copper with Abraham Lincoln's familiar profile on the front and 2 simple wheat stalks on the back. But what makes this humble 1-cent piece so extraordinary is the hidden story behind certain rare minting mistakes that turned some of these coins into prized treasures worth between $44,000 and a staggering $314,400. $314,400. Imagine the thrill of realizing that a small, seemingly common penny in your collection or coin jar could hold the potential to change your life. That's the magic behind the 1948 Eddie Lincoln Wheat Penny Error coin, minted at the Denver Mint. The 1948 Eddie penny bears the small D mint mark just below the date, a symbol that now holds a world of meaning for coin collectors. Over 172 million of these pennies were struck, and yet, only a handful contain the unique imperfections that have made them famous. These rare errors were born out of the manual and mechanical processes used at the time, a period when precision relied heavily on human skill and machinery that wasn't as automated as it is today. Each of these mistakes tells a story, a frozen moment in the minting process when something went slightly wrong and unknowingly created a piece of history. One of the most notable and valuable errors from the 1948 Eddie series is the double die obverse. This error occurs when the die used to strike the design on the coin imprints the image twice but slightly misaligned. The result is visible doubling on the letters of liberty, in God we trust, and even the numerals in the date 1948. To the naked eye, it gives Lincoln's image and the inscriptions a shadowy, layered appearance. Collectors prize these coins not just for their rarity, but also for their visual distinctiveness. You can clearly see the minting mishap without needing special equipment. In one remarkable example, a 1948 Eddie double die obverse penny graded MS67 read by PCGS fetched $112,500 at Heritage Auctions. Another, with a similar doubling pattern but slightly more wear, sold for $84,000 at a Stax Bowers event. Equally fascinating is the repunched mint mark, or RPM error. In the 1940s, mint marks were hand-punched onto each die, a delicate process that sometimes led to accidental double strikes. When this happened, the mint mark might appear slightly offset, creating what looks like a shadow or secondary. This subtle but noticeable imperfection is highly sought after by serious collectors. A beautifully preserved example of a 1948 Eddie RPM in MS66 red sold for $44,000, while a stronger and bolder RPM, with dramatic doubling clearly visible under magnification, sold for $71,000 in a private sale. Each of these coins reflects the fascinating human element of minting, a reminder that even in a highly regulated environment, perfection wasn't always guaranteed. Another standout error from this series is the off-center strike. This happens when the blank copper planchet isn't properly aligned between the dies, causing part of the design to be missing. Depending on how off-center the coin is, the value can skyrocket. A 1948 Eddie penny struck 25% off-center sold for $58,000, while another with about 50% of Lincoln's portrait missing, but the date still visible, fetched an astonishing $119,000 at a great collections auction. The more dramatic the misalignment, the more collectors love it. Off-center coins like these aren't just mistakes, they're artistic accidents, each one unique and unrepeatable. Then there are the wrong planchet errors, which are among the most coveted in coin collecting. Occasionally, a blank metal disc intended for another denomination, such as a dime or foreign coin, gets fed into the press meant for Lincoln cents. The result is a penny struck on a different metal, often lighter in weight and distinct in color. A famous example of this error occurred when a 1948 Eddie Lincoln penny was struck on a silver dime planchet, giving it a silvery sheen and a slightly smaller size. This coin, authenticated and graded MS65, sold at Heritage Auctions for an incredible $314,400, breaking records for wheat pennies of that era. Another similar piece, struck on a steel planchet, sold for $252,000 in 2022. These are the types of discoveries that make headlines in the coin collecting community. Die cracks and die breaks also make the 1948 Eddie series exciting. Over time, the dies used to strike coins would wear down and sometimes crack under the pressure of minting millions of coins. These cracks left raised lines or marks on the finished coins, often resembling lightning bolts or spiderweb patterns. One 1948 Eddie penny with a dramatic die crack running from Lincoln's forehead across the word trust sold for $52,000 at a 2023 auction. Another coin showing a massive die break, where a portion of the die actually broke off leaving a blob of metal on the coin known as a coot, sold for $64,500. These errors give each coin a one-of-a-kind personality. No two are exactly alike. Collectors also pay close attention to color and luster when it comes to Lincoln wheat pennies. Coins that retain their original reddish copper brilliance, referred to as red or full red engraving, are among the most valuable. The 1948 AD is particularly desirable in this state, as copper tends to tone or darken over the decades. A perfectly preserved 1948 AD double-die obverse graded MS-67 red was auctioned for $138,000, while another MS-68 red example reached an impressive $150,000 due to its mirror-like surface and strong strike. This hybrid, fiery tones make the coin look almost new, even after more than 7 decades. What makes the story of the 1948 AD Lincoln wheat penny even more special is the era in which it was minted. The United States was emerging from World War II, and the economy was booming. Coin production was at an all-time high, but the minting process still relied heavily on manual adjustments. The Denver Mint, known for its precision and volume, was striking coins around the clock to meet demand. Under such pressure, even the smallest oversight could create the kinds of minting errors that collectors now celebrate. What was once seen as a flaw has become a mark of uniqueness, a testament to history captured in metal. Auction results over the past few years have shown that interest in Lincoln wheat pennies, especially those from the 1940s, continues to grow. In 2024, a collector from New York purchased a 1948 AD penny with a visible double-die and RPM combination for $104,000. The same year, a private sale recorded a 1948 AD penny struck 40% off center sold for $97,000. Even lower-grade examples with milder doubling or small die cracks have fetched between $8,000 and $25,000, proving that collectors of all levels want a piece of this historic coin. It is also the incredible story of a retired veteran from Illinois who discovered a rare 1948 AD error coin in a jar of pennies his family had been saving for decades. Initially assuming it was worth only a few dollars, he decided to have it graded. To his shock, it was identified as a double-die obverse with full red luster and was later sold at heritage auctions for $91,000. Stories like this are why so many people are inspired to check their coin collections carefully, because you never know when you might be holding something extraordinary. Today, numismatic experts recommend collectors to pay attention to certain details when examining 1948 AD pennies. Look for doubling in the date and lettering, signs of mint mark repunching, or slight misalignments in the rim. Even subtle variations could mean the difference between a $1 coin and a 6-figure treasure. Using a magnifying glass or a microscope can help detect these details more easily. Certification by professional grading services like PCGS or NGC significantly boosts a coin's value because it verifies authenticity and condition. A 1948 AD wheat penny graded MS-66 red or higher with a notable mint error can effortlessly command prices between $44,000 and $314,400, depending on rarity and appeal. Collectors are always on the lookout for such coins, as they represent not only value but also tangible history. The beauty of the 1948 AD Lincoln wheat penny lies in how it transforms imperfection into perfection. Each minting mistake tells a story of human craftsmanship, of mechanical error, and of the passage of time. From double dies and off-center strikes to wrong planchets and die breaks, every variation has its own legacy and collector base. So if you ever come across an old wheat penny, especially one bearing the mint mark under the year 1948, take a closer look. Examine the lettering, the mint mark, the color, and the rim. Because one of those small copper coins could be more than just pocket change, it could be a rare error worth tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars. The next great discovery might just be sitting unnoticed in a coin jar or tucked away in an old collection, waiting for the right person to recognize it. After all, in the world of rare coins, sometimes the smallest piece of history holds the biggest surprise, and in the case of the 1948 AD Lincoln wheat penny, that surprise could be worth up to $314,400. The 1951 AD Lincoln wheat penny is one of those rare American coins that hides a story of pure fascination beneath its humble copper surface. Minted in Denver, this 1-cent coin has become a collector's stream, not because of its face value, but because of the unique minting errors that transformed ordinary pennies into treasures worth anywhere between $65,000 and $254,400. Imagine holding in your hand a coin so small, yet so valuable that it could buy you a luxury car or even a piece of real estate. That's the power of rarity and history combined in one incredible piece of American coinage. Back in 1951, the United States Mint was operating at full speed, striking millions of Lincoln cents featuring the iconic portrait of President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the two wheat stalks on the reverse, symbolizing prosperity and growth. The Denver Mint, identified by the small de mark under the date, was one of the busiest that year, producing over 625 million pennies. But in the midst of that massive production, a few coins slipped through with striking errors, small imperfections that went unnoticed at the time, but decades later, would make these coins worth fortunes in the hands of collectors. One of the most sought-after errors from the 1951 Eddy series is the double die obverse. This occurs when the die that imprints the coin strikes the blank planchet twice, but in slightly different positions. The result is visible doubling in the inscriptions, especially on the words Liberty, In God We Trust, and sometimes even the date 1951. Under magnification, or even to the naked eye, these details appear slightly shadowed or overlapped, a clear sign of a double die strike. A pristine 1951 Eddy Lincoln penny with this error, graded MS67 read by PCGS, was sold at a heritage auction for a stunning $128,500. Another similar piece, though with a slightly weaker doubling effect, fetched $96,000 in a Stack's Power sale in 2022. These coins prove that even a small production mishap can transform a common coin into a historical masterpiece. Another fascinating error that collectors chase is the off-center strike. This happens when the blank copper planchet isn't perfectly centered in the press during minting, causing part of the design to be missing. Depending on how much of the design is visible, the value can vary dramatically. A 1951 Eddy penny struck 30% off-center sold for $48,000, while another with nearly 60% of the design missing, yet still showing Lincoln's profile and the date, brought a jaw-dropping $112,000 at auction. Off-center errors are visually striking, making them some of the most attractive and collectible varieties in the hobby. Then there is the repunched mint mark, known among experts as the RPM error. During the 1950s, mint marks were manually punched into the dies, and sometimes the worker accidentally struck the mint mark more than once in a slightly different position. This creates a ghostly doubling effect on the letter they under the date. While some repunched mint marks are faint and subtle, others are bold and clear, dramatically increasing their value. One such bold RPM 1951 Eddy Lincoln cent graded MS66 red sold for $18,400, while another, slightly less pronounced, sold for $7,900. These coins are fascinating because they offer a glimpse into the manual minting process of the mid-20th century, an era before full automation and precision machinery. Among the rarest errors found in this coin series is the wrong planchet strike. This happens when a penny is accidentally struck on a planchet intended for a different denomination, such as a dime or a foreign coin. Because planchets differ in size, thickness, and metal composition, such mistakes are extremely uncommon. A famous example of this occurred with a 1951 Eddy Lincoln cent struck on a silver dime planchet, giving the coin a lighter color and lower weight. In 2019, one such coin sold for an incredible $254,400 at a Stack's Power auction. Another example, slightly less lustrous but still in mint state condition, brought $221,000 at heritage auctions. These coins are the ultimate numismatic anomalies, beautiful accidents that became priceless artifacts. Die cracks also play an important role in the 1951 Eddy error story. A die crack occurs when the metal die used to strike the coin develops small fractures due to overuse. These cracks leave raised lines on the finished coin, forming unique patterns that can stretch across Lincoln's portrait, through the date, or across the reverse wheat ears. Each die crack is unique, like a fingerprint. A particularly dramatic example, featuring a die crack running from Lincoln's forehead through the word trust, sold for $65,000 at Great Collections in 2021. Collectors love these because they tell the story of overworked mint machinery and the human element in coin production during the post-war era. For those who value the beauty of mint preservation, color designation plays a massive role in determining a coin's value. The best preserved 1951 Eddy Lincoln pennies come in what collectors call red or full red color, a vibrant copper hue that remains untouched by oxidation. These are exceedingly rare because copper tarnishes easily. A 1951 AD double die in MS67 full red condition can command six figures effortlessly. For instance, a specimen in brilliant full red sold at heritage auctions for $102,000, proving that preservation and rarity together can create enormous value in the coin world. What makes this coin so intriguing is that it was born during a time of tremendous industrial progress in the USA. The Denver Mint was operating on tight schedules and immense pressure to meet national demand for currency. This rush, combined with human involvement in the minting process, allowed for small mistakes, the kind that today's collectors cherish. Each error tells a story not only about minting technology but also about the historical period it represents. Auction houses across the United States have seen a resurgence in demand for Lincoln wheat pennies from the 1940s and 1950s, but the 1951 AD series stands out because of its diversity of mint errors. In 2023, a collector in Texas purchased a 1951 AD off-center error coin for $91,000. Earlier that same year, an MS66 red RPM variety sold for $56,700 on eBay's rare coin marketplace, a record-breaking online sale for this date and mint mark. Even more surprising was a private sale in 2024, where a coin dealer from California confirmed the sale of a 1951 AD Ron Planchet penny for $242,800 to a private collector from Japan. It's stories like these that make coin collecting so captivating. Hidden treasures exist in the most ordinary places: old jars of coins, forgotten boxes, or family piggy banks. One collector from Ohio recently discovered a rare 1951 AD double die penny in a small box of coins inherited from his grandfather. When authenticated by PCGS, it was graded MS65 red and sold for $88,000. The story was covered in several coin journals as a perfect example of how history and luck can intersect in the most unexpected ways. Experts suggest that collectors and hobbyists take a close look at their 1951 AD Lincoln wheat pennies, as many errors go unnoticed by the untrained eye. A good magnifying glass and a bit of patience can make all the difference. Look for doubling in the letters, repunched mint marks, or even small die cracks that might not seem like much but could be worth thousands. The standard weight for these pennies is 3.11 grams, so any coin that significantly deviates from that might indicate a Ron Planchet error, and potentially a six-figure discovery. Today, certification from trusted grading companies like PCGS and NGC adds significant value to these coins, as buyers and sellers rely on verified condition and authenticity. Coins graded MS65 or higher, with red coloration and visible minting errors, are among the most desirable pieces in any collection. They represent not just money, but a living connection to America's industrial and artistic history. The 1951 AD Lincoln wheat penny reminds us that sometimes the smallest details make the biggest difference. What was once a simple copper coin minted to circulate through the hands of ordinary Americans has become an icon of minting history, a rare gem hiding among billions. Whether it's a double die, a repunched mint mark, a dramatic off-center strike, or a coin struck on the Ron Planchet, these pieces tell a story of imperfection turned into beauty. So, the next time you find an old penny lying in a drawer or jar, take a closer look. It might just be a 1951 AD Lincoln wheat penny with a secret, one that could be worth not just a few cents, but anywhere between $65,000 and an astonishing $254,400. Because in the world of numismatics, sometimes the smallest things hold the biggest fortunes.